All right, so 2020 predictions video podcast take 4. We've had every single issue that you can imagine when trying to do this. You've got audio issues, video issues,
Battery issues.
Yeah. So if this doesn't work, then we're going to give up on this whole game. But I think we got it down. So what are we talking about today? We're going to go into 2-part video. First one's the 4 predictions we have for 2020. Next one's another 4 predictions. We had so many, we had to split it into two videos for everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. I mean, this world that we're in over the last decade has changed quite a lot in a lot of ways, but has also stayed the same in other ways and kind of moved forward, or the pendulum has swung quite far in one direction and it's starting to maybe swing back in the other direction with several items. So there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about, and we're going to set in stone our predictions now, and then we're going to talk about them at the end of the year and see if we were right.
Yeah. So I think that for some of these predictions, like, we're going to see them start this year in 2020, but I think it's going to take some time to evolve. So for everyone to kind of, catch up to that. But yeah, so
Number 1.
Yeah,
Should
go into it. Yeah.
This is my one. So I talk about this a lot, which is the I wanted to say the death of MQLs, but I think that's a bit dramatic. And I also think that it misses the point, because it's more about the MQLs as a measure of success will phase out, but having an MQL and a funnel is likely to stick around. I think the issue with MQLs is when we use them as that metric of success to then define what we're going to be investing in as a marketing organization going forward. And the issue with it, because of that, is a lot of your MQLs aren't converting into pipeline or even revenue. So some people, a lot of companies have a below 10% conversion from MQL to revenue or even pipeline. So if 90% of the leads that you're saying are successful aren't actually successful in impacting the bottom line, then why are we using that to justify budgeting decisions going forward? Why are we taking that value and going around the whole organization telling people we're so great because we got a lot of MQLs from this certain event or a certain channel, passing that information up through the chain of command, through VP of marketing, CMO, board. It's just the wrong conversation to have. The shift towards being revenue marketers has moved forward a lot, and I think there's a lot of people have still got a chain attached to MQLs and it's dragging them, and it's sort of slowing them down and actually making them make worse decisions. I think people are realizing that.
Yeah, I think that the MQL back in 2010 had really good intentions. Like, I think it was a great step into prioritizing leads for an SDR team, which was a new concept then as well. But because it was also an early metric for marketers to get a pulse on like how well their campaigns that they were doing, because a lot of that focus was on inbound as well. But since then, it's been a metric that marketers have been tied to, and there's no real definition behind it. So we can control how many MQLs we're producing, really, just to meet our growing goals. And because of that, and because they've seen growth, those goals went up and up. So really, we're kind of back to where we started, where an MQL is really just the lead. And that's why it's an unreliable metric. And that's why we're seeing conversion rates go down.
So what is the definition of marketing qualified if 90% of what we're saying is marketing qualified isn't turning into pipeline ever?
Totally.
There's a disconnect there. So unless we really make the criteria for MQL a lot stronger, and we actually pass across to sales leads that are marketing qualified, ready for sales, then that will be a metric of success that we can really hang our hat on. If we're still sending across essentially just leads, then we just have to call it what it is. It's just a lead. It's just someone who's shown a little bit of interest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's something that people have been talking about a lot recently. It's heating up. there's a lot of people on both sides, but I think the move towards revenue is moving fast, and the move away from MQLs is moving just as fast from that perspective.
Yeah, so MQLs will probably still exist, but we'll say goodbye to them, as a measure of success, and, probably won't be used in any boardroom reporting, or hopefully not.
All right, so revenue ops. This is a tasty one. This is a good one. Yeah,
so revenue operations, basically combining marketing operations and sales operations, has been gathering some steam, and I think a lot of people are wondering if they should combine those two departments together into one department. And I see a lot of leaders, talking about that and potentially even trying it. And I think my prediction is that marketing ops and sales ops will still stay in their separate teams.
For now, right?
For now. I think that there are
definitely in 2020 for most companies.
Yeah. And I think there's a big reason. There's a few reasons, but it's just those two teams just are too different from each other. I think that companies should make sure that their sales ops team and marketing operations team are working closely with each other, and now they have to, like, with marketers being more involved on the account and contact management side, investing more into ABM. That's kind of brought them into more of the sales ops world, and then sales ops is being tasked with rollout tools like lean data or attribution tools and help out the marketing team, and so they're entering the marketing ops world, and so they really do need to be aligned. But overall, a sales operations team also has a bunch of other things that they need to manage for the goals of the sales team, and then the same thing for the marketing. Yeah, right. They need to align what they're doing with the goals of the marketing team. So I still think...
And I think your other point as well around the leadership too.
Yeah.
I think on top of that, whoever ends up being the leader of that team and their background. Right,
yeah, whoever ends up being the leader of the background, and a lot of the times ends up being a salesperson, they will end up prioritizing their goals over anything. And so...
And an example of that could be, right, marketing's got to get a load of campaigns out the door. They need help from revenue operations in this case. But it's end of quarter, and there's a lot of stuff on the pipeline and opportunity side that needs to be worked on by the revenue ops team, and everyone's just poured into that. Now marketing can't get their campaigns out. So again, because the leader of revenue ops has that sales background, and they prioritize that.
Yeah.
So for now, there seems like there needs to be different organizations, but heavily, aligned.
Yeah, alignment over kind of shoving them into one org. And I think a big part of that has to do with just still the misunderstanding of marketing ops. I think from a marketing standpoint, I think there's a lack of understanding of how to support that team and manage them. So they kind of want to throw them over to another team who already, has processes in place, or, is more of an execution-based team. But I don't think a great marketing ops team should be pigeonholed into being more execution-based. And it's not just, their systems that they're working on, their strategy behind it. They're helping form the strategy for marketing and
really operationalize the whole strategy for marketing.
Yeah.
And make that marketing strategy work. They're not just a tool manager and, process manager. They are really helping the marketing team make their marketing actually physically get out there and work through everything they have to manage as an operational team.
Yeah. So prediction wise, I think that they'll still stay on separate teams, and then when they do try to put them in the same team, they might end up finding these issues. So
yeah. Yep. So demand marketer, this is the third one, right?
Yeah, third prediction.
Demand marketers ditching the addiction. We could have copywritten that one a little bit better. But ditching the addiction of paying for leads and start investing more in activities that building a brand and naturally creates and keeps their fans and positions them as leaders. So I can take this one. This prediction is all around. This isn't really something that's been what I'm about to say isn't something that's been a trend. It's kind of always been around, where there are these shortcut tactics like buying lists, buying content syndication, contact data, which is one step up from just buying a list, or half a step up from just buying a cold list, and then or just getting a big trade show list of everyone that attended but didn't really engage with you.
Yeah.
There's some examples, there's more, but essentially, especially with ABM, where this is heated up, right? We're tasked to get contact coverage over all of our ABM accounts, so we resort to these tactics. In the past, it was more of a lead gen kind of thing. We've got generate leads, but now it's like, okay, well, we've got ABM, we need to get contacts in our accounts, so let's get them.
It's a kind of combination of both. So you have
Right.
the old way of doing things where you are focused on generating leads and you're just paying for them to come through top of funnel. And I think companies are still doing that, but just maybe layering on a filter that they should be from their target accounts.
Right.
And then they're still filling their database with people from their target accounts that are also cold. So there's just, you have both.
It's an
going
improvement,
on.
right? I remember, years ago when we were working with a content syndication vendor, and that we went through that shift. This was before really ABM was being talked about as ABM, but we were just getting content syndication leads, and that was great. And then we wanted to get leads from certain accounts, so we just said, okay, well, just give us these leads from the accounts, and it's better because there's a reason why you're going after those accounts, right?
Yeah.
So you're more targeted, but still the problem persists where it's very hard to create a conversation with people cold. Depending on who you are, what company you are, obviously there's caveats to this, but it's really hard to target cold data, and I feel like it's very rare that you see that be successful unless you're very targeted and you have amazing personalization and you spend a lot of time doing it. But it still leads to a lot of companies trying to go for volume within this kind of pay for lead context, and I think they're finding that even if they are layering on ABM onto that, it's still not producing the results.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you might actually even be upsetting your accounts because you're resorting to tactics that aren't really speaking your brand, aren't really connecting people with the way they want to be connected with. So there's companies, and there's a few like big great companies that are doing this these days, where they are focusing more on the brand. They're focusing more on social, on LinkedIn, on things like video, and really creating that brand affinity with their potential customers and their customers to really draw those people in. Kind of the old kind of content marketing, what people would always talk about content marketing.
Yeah, inbound marketing.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like switching back. It was like inbound and content, and now it's like outbound and ABM, and it's like, well, actually we probably need a bit of both.
Yep.
And we can't just be getting leads and then just targeting them. We need to actually make people want to do business with us, and that's going to be like through our brand and our content.
Yeah, or when our target accounts do end up finding us or engaging with us, it's a great experience. So there's actually content for them to enjoy there that's makes sense to them, that gets them bought into their point of view and really educates them, and in a fun and ingestible way, like right. Not the really long boring ebook, but maybe something that some videos that tell a story, or some type of campaign that gets them to be part of that, maybe some
right.
input from the prospect itself. And so I think, to your point, people or some companies have de-invested dollars into some of those brand activities. And I know that for some startups you're thinking, well, investing in brands expensive, but there are some simple things you can do to support your brand. Like you said, that some companies are doing where, maybe invest in like a video strategy. It doesn't have to be highly, production video, but it can be something as simple as filming on your iPhone. Or right. for content, what's some engaging content that's short and snappy that shows off your brand personality. And then also just leveraging people at your company, like your employees, to post on LinkedIn or engage in their own customer community. And that's another way to extend the brand.
Yeah, and I think one of the companies doing this really well is Gong. Mm-hmm. And I won't go into like all the details why, but I think just everything they do around their brand and connecting with their customers and buyers is just really great. And the way that it pays off, I saw on LinkedIn the other day, someone just commented, wrote not a post, but like just one of the shorter posts. They're looking for the solution, which Gong is one of the major competitors in that area. And they were saying which one of the vendors are the best. They didn't even ask for which specific, they didn't even list the vendors. But I saw like 20 comments, all from customers or people who just like the brand of Gong saying, you got to go with Gong, you got to go with Gong. And it was just like that is just how, the whole word of mouth, you're going to take someone's opinion when you see it like that, right? Beyond just, okay, well, this company just bought my name and emailed me. So anyway, we can move on to the next one, but there's companies out there doing this really well, and they're leading the pack.
Yeah.
So the last one, related, I think this is kind of related to the first and third, bringing down the content gates.
Yeah. So I think nowadays, I think people, are moving away from gating everything. And this has to do with what we talked about with that same mentality of the demand marketer needing to bring in new leads, meet their lead goal, i.e. meet their MQL goal. But essentially you're just building up a funnel or a database of just anyone who, wants to download your content. And so I think now companies are starting to realize that this supports their brand as well, which we just talked about, is to put their great content out there up front. Let everyone do, but like we have seen before, like buyers are doing most of that journey on their own. And then when they're ready to talk to sales, they'll fill out a form. And so, to make that process seamless and, not annoying for them, people are starting to ungate their content. And I think that is definitely the way to go, for a lot of the reasons we already talked about. Mm-hmm. But we can also think of some interesting ways to capture that content, whether it's with like a chat bot, or, having your CTAs that make sense for filling out a form more readily available when they are ready to like convert. Yeah, like an event or a webinar, or even, to contact them. And even pulling down barriers to get contact, like to have direct Calendly access. You see some companies do like that. Chatbots to do it for you too. Because once someone is ready to engage with a salesperson, you want to get that right away because they're ready, right? They've already done all the research. They've ingested your great content. They're bought into your brand. And then now they're like, okay, let me schedule some demos. Right? And they don't want to have to wait a week to do that. Right. And you definitely don't want to wait a week for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes filling out a form.
No.
Right? I don't think I've ever met anyone. If you had hundreds of thousands of people in a room and said, who likes to fill out a form for a piece of content, not a single person would put up their hand. Yeah. Just give it to them.
And people are protective of their data now. People are like, right. Oh, what are they going to do with this data? What am I signing up for? And
just this hassle.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just like, it's not.
It's just barriers.
Content is like, they're not really getting value out of it, right? Obviously, there's some pieces of content that are so valuable that maybe you want to gate them, but at least try and ungate a lot of other, like most of your content.
Yeah,
right?
They want to subscribe to your content, then give them the subscription.
Have the option to subscribe, have the option for them to chat to a salesperson.
Yeah.
Book a demo instantly, not just fill out a form and then wait.
Yep.
You need to be ready as soon as they show you that real intent.
Yep.
Don't just put a form in and think that is intent.
And I think that for the demand marketers are listening to us and being like, well, I don't know, I'm going to miss out on leads that come to my website. And how am I going to, capture those people? I think that's yes, I understand, and that probably has to do because of your goals that you're tied to. So there might be first talk about that first with your manager. MQLs, probably not.
Rewind.
Yeah, go back to number one. But also, you need to think you're sending over, if your model for MQLs as well is just sending over everything to sales like too early, they're just, recycling or unqualifying those people because those people aren't ready yet.
Or they're just putting them in a sequence with their sales engagement tool and just sending them 20 emails and not getting any response.
But if they're actually, doing the research and get fully bought into your brand, and then they're now ready to convert, they're gonna fill out a form. They're gonna reach out to you. They're gonna fill out the contact us, and then you can send them directly to sales to get qualified and set up the meeting. So, for all the people who are on your site, if you're giving them that great experience and then they're ready, they'll fill out the forms. You're not missing out on anything.
It's kind of like a confidence thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you lack confidence in your content, your product, your reputation, your brand, then you think, oh, I have to capture their information so I can force feed everything exactly when I think the best time for them to receive this and X and Y. But if you're confident that you've put effort into your brand, you've got a good reputation, you've got customer advocates, you've got good content that's valuable, that's going to really kind of push people towards seeing the value in what your space, but also you as a company and in your product, they can nurture themselves.
Totally.
Right, on their own time, and then they'll come to you when they're ready.
Yeah, and your conversion rate's going to go up, sales is going to be happier. So for demand markers, that is a scary change, but the response to that, or after making that change, the result of that could be even more rewarding and could be happier with that. So, just think about maybe where that fear is coming from, and don't be afraid to pull down the gates, like we said.
And if you're really scared of that, I've seen some companies move towards having a lot of their content in a content center that you can register for once and have access to all of their content.
Yeah.
Right, and that is a good trade-off. Okay, give my details once, I have access to hundreds or thousands of pieces of content in some cases, instead of like getting to fill out a form for every single thing, which is just going to constantly put barriers up.
Totally.
Even if you're pre-filling their information, and then just slow down their engagement with your brand. But yeah, I think that's about sums it up, right?
Yeah, so those are our 4 predictions.
4 more coming.
4 more coming in part 2.
Yeah. All right, and we'll see if we're right in about 12 months.
All right, see ya.